1 trillion species. 7.8 billion humans. 1.9 million species extinct. One planet. Where are we heading? What should we do?
Watch Climate Tracker, only on WION. World is One.
From the world's most volatile region, conflicts over faith and boundaries. Stories of death, destruction, despair, and hope. WION brings you to the heart of the action. Incisive analysis, unrivaled perspective, and exclusive ground reports. Watch West Asia Post every Friday, 8:30 p.m. IST with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
Stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views and analysis. WIOnews.com. World is One.
Hello and welcome to South Asia Diary with me, Mariam Wardak. Our top story tonight is from Nepal. Hundreds and thousands of people have casted their vote in the country's general election. This is the fourth parliamentary poll held since Nepal has become a republic. Nearly 15 years have passed since the transition, but not much has changed. It is the same generation of leaders that still can call the shots in the Himalayan nation. Also on the show,
Pakistan will appoint its next army chief this week as General Bajwa's term ends. What does this transition mean for the country, and how will it impact its policies? India's City of Dreams faces a grim challenge. Mumbai's population continues to grow, making the city's housing crisis worse. Bangladesh parents worry for their children as the world population hits 8 billion. Getting a taste of Kashmir's winter delicacy, the harissa.
many of Nepal's voters are tired of voting for the same leaders. They are tired of them making same promises and failing to fulfill them. But this time, there is something different. Many young candidates have come out in the field. They are contesting for top offices, hoping to bring some change.
Standing in long queues, Exercising their constitutional right, millions in Nepal cast their vote for the next government on Sunday. The Himalayan nation is holding its fourth poll since it became a republic 14 years ago. And this time, the people have made their voices clear. They are tired of the old guard. They are tired of voting for the same old faces. The ones who make huge promises but fail to deliver every time. The Nepali people are hoping for a breath of fresh air. A younger, more promising government that understands their problems.
This election will be a major warning to the traditional forces, to the traditional parties. I don't expect that it will totally influence the governance, the system. However, they will very strongly knock the doors of the traditional parties, and so that they will be compelled to get change themselves.
We have seen the old generation work, but now we need to see new people, new talent to come up, which is the desire of the people.
Among the many issues this poll season are economic revival and political stability. Recovering from the pandemic, Nepal has still not seen a complete revival in tourism, a major contributing factor to its GDP. In the first 10 months of this year, roughly 450,000 tourists visited Nepal. This is less than half the number seen in the whole of 2019. That is before the pandemic entered the picture. The cost of everyday products continue to rise. Nepal's foreign reserves are shrinking, and the retail inflation rate has been hovering at 6-year highs of about 8%. The next government will be faced with the mountainous challenge of reviving the economy and curbing the price rise at a time when the world is looking at an imminent recession.
The new government should move forward to provide health and education because they are common facilities required by all people.
The other big poll issue is political stability. Nepal became a republic in 2008, and it has seen 13 different governments during this time. Nepal's current Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deoba has been in the position 5 times. Prominent leaders of the communist parties Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Khadga Prasad Oli have held the office twice. Many of Nepal's citizens now want the senior leaders to leave in a respectful way. For them, it is the frequent changes and squabbles among parties that are largely to be blamed for a slow economy.
We as voters always want development. We want to see better roads and better education. But that's not happening. So there should be a new generation. The previous leaders should respectfully take a leave. And people with new thoughts should come in the political party. That's our expectation.
We want a stable government so that it can function well.
The vote count has already begun in the country, but it will take at least 2 weeks before the results are out. The reason is that some ballot boxes need to be carried from remote mountain village. There are no pre-election polls to register the public's mood. Some political analysts predict the incumbent alliance of the Nepali Congress and former Maoist leaders are to retain the top office. The way ahead will not be easy for whoever comes to power. They will face the challenges of keeping a stable political administration, reviving the tourism industry, and balancing relations between the Asian powers that neighbor the tiny country, and that is China and India.
Nepal conducted a second general election post the constitution came into effect. There were 2 major coalitions. The main battle is between the 2 major coalitions. One that is led by the ruling Nepali Congress Party, and the other coalition is by the former Prime Minister, that is led by KP Sharma Oli. Well, we'll have to see what the topics were highlighted during the campaign is basically where the Nepali Congress, the ruling alliance, were focused on the economy and on the prosperity of the country, while also assuring the public to generate as many as over 1 million jobs for youth in the next 5 years. They feel that this resonates with the voters and that they were paying high prices for basic needs, and they also want to bring the financial discipline laws in place. While the coalition, the opposition coalition that is led by KP Oli, focused on domestic products and encouraging Make in Nepal initiative. In the manifesto of the UML party, they have mentioned that nobody will die of hunger and that earnings will be ensured for all. These were the key messages that were coming from the both sides. While now in this election, there were major factors that came into effect as one that independent candidates, there were increase in independent candidates. So what exactly the result will be, it's a little tight race between the political parties, the national political parties and the independent candidates. For that, we'll have to wait for a week when the results are out. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
Pakistan is on the brink of one of its biggest transition in recent history. The government will appoint the country's next army chief. The military is one of the most powerful institutions in Pakistan, and who becomes its next leader will not only have an impact on the fragile democracy, but beyond its borders.
Pakistan's nuclear-armed military is set to get a new supremo this week. General Qamar Javed Bajwa will most likely be stepping down as his term nears an end. The military is the most powerful institution in a nation seldom far from its next crisis. And this top appointment will have a crucial bearing on the future of Pakistan's fragile democracy, as well as its relations with the world, especially with neighbors India and Afghanistan. The military in Pakistan holds the ultimate power. Since independence, the army has seized power of the country 3 times. In its 75-year history, the military has had a direct rule for more than 3 decades. And even when a civilian government is in place, the generals retain a dominant influence over security matters and foreign affairs. The next chief will be setting the tone for the conduct of Islamabad's relations with New Delhi, Kabul, Washington and Beijing. He certainly will have big shoes to fill. Replacing General Bajwa and his diplomacy will not be an easy task.
Chief of Army Staff.
Bajwa was appointed to the top military office in 2016, and since then he has sought to balance ties with Pakistan's new and traditional allies. While on one hand Islamabad moved closer to Beijing, on the other the army chief worked to thaw the country's relations with Washington. He even worked closely with the US during the troop pullout last year. It was not just security and diplomacy. General Bajwa took keen interest in economics as well. He determined how much of the budget goes to the military, made high-profile visits overseas to seek financial assistance for Pakistan, even lobbied Washington to help strike a deal with the IMF. Just like the military, Bajwa has also been accused of political meddling. Some claim that he helped former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan come to power in 2018. But in a mega U-turn, the cricketer turned politician accused Bajwa of playing a part in his ouster from office. The Pakistan military has long been accused of manipulating the democratic process to maintain its dominance. The country has had 19 leaders elected till date, but none of them have been able to complete their 5-year term. The Pakistan Army recently admitted to its past meddling in politics, but said it will no longer interfere. Whether the new chief stands by that commitment or not could be key to Pakistan's democratic evolution. The big transition comes as Pakistan is in the midst of another bout of political uncertainty. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan is leading countrywide protests, calling for snap elections. Since his ouster from office, He has accused Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of being part of a controversy to remove him from the post. A claim he still stands by. Whether the new army chief will be able to bring down the political temperatures in Islamabad will be closely watched as the country attempts to recover from an economic crisis and historic floods. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
India's urban population is expected to explode in the coming years, bringing in new challenges and concerns. However, already today, its cities cannot cope with climate change worsening the living conditions, opportunities, and concerns.
Welcome to India's most populous city, Mumbai, nicknamed Maximum City. It's home to 20 million people, and every day up to 8 million passengers use the overcrowded trains on the colonial-era rail network. The local commuter train system is one of the busiest in the world and is known as the lifeline of the city. Mumbai's roads are frequently gridlocked, and the network is often the fastest way to travel around. During rush hour, passengers jostle and fight to get into the carriages. People hanging out of the open doors, it's a common sight. The megapolis has long attracted migrants from across the vast nation of 1.4 billion people. But every day is a fight for survival for the migrants here, who travel long distances and work long hours just to feed their families.
It's very hectic schedule just to travel in train because it's very crowded in the morning as well as when I'm going back to home. I have to stand like a lot of time. Sometimes only I do get seats to sit. I have to fight even sometimes to get in or to get down. So yeah, it's very stressful to travel in train.
India is set to become the world's most populated nation by next year, overtaking China. Population experts say the pace of growth is slowing, but the sheer number of young people means the population will keep growing for several decades.
So India's population is going to decrease, but before it decreases and stabilizes, India's population is going to increase. For instance, we will reach 1.6 billion in 2048. And again, at the turn of the century, we will be 1.3, which is the downward curve.
The western coastal city has grown by some 8 million people, the equivalent roughly of New York City, to 20 million in the past 3 decades. What this means is that a larger population are sharing Mumbai's already overstretched resources.
People live in very crowded conditions with very little space and no infrastructure, lack of access to education, health. So a new generation of unhealthy and currently living people, they're not only unhealthy, they're illiterate, they cannot participate in the economy because they are not skilled. The opportunity cost is very high.
Many migrants who work as cheap labor for the city's wealthier residents cram into Mumbai's slums. These ramshackle buildings often have no regular water, power supply or waste management. The most well-known slum is the Dharavi, India's biggest. It was the backdrop for the 2008 Oscar-winning film Slumdog Millionaire and is home to an estimated 1 million people.
I was 16 or 17 when I came here from my village. My childhood was wonderful in the village. It has a peaceful environment, unlike the crowd here. People are wonderful. There is every facility but no money. You will get happiness and affinity, but people don't have money.
Mumbai, which also attracts aspirants to India's glitzy Hindi film industry, Bollywood, is famous for its vibrant culture and fast-paced life. But with the city expected to add another 7 million residents by 2035, Experts say more urban planning and resources are needed to keep hopes alive in the city of dreams. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
The world population has topped 8 billion. And with this hitting this landmark, one is compelled to think about the big question. Can we as a society provide the basic necessities to the billions? Or do we have to reconsider our policies? Here's a story from a Bangladeshi parent who worries about his children's future.
This is Adil Ahmed. He very recently became a father. Holding his newborn baby in his arms, Adil's eyes show a flicker of concern. With the population crossing the 8 billion milestone, he fears a harsh future for his child.
As the population increases, ultimately the financial condition of the world will worsen. I fear that when the world reaches that stage, how will our future generation cope with that? We are really worried about it.
Adil is not the only one. Many parents in developing and low-income nations feel that their financial burdens will increase as the population continues to grow. Bangladesh, with more than 140 million people, is one of the world's most densely populated nations. And as the population booms, low-income families fear that their children will not be able to get a proper education or access to facilities in the future.
Of course it's too much, as the resources of the world are not enough. As we have only 1/3 of Earth's mass made up by land, the rest is water.
As now, there are 8 billion people in the world. I am worried about whether my kids will be able to get a proper education and other facilities. That fear exists inside me, but I am hopeful that I will be able to help them to grow better in this bad situation.
On the other hand, data indicates that Bangladesh's life expectancy is increasing, but so are the risks. A United Nations agency says that countries by the middle of the century, Bangladesh's population will include 36 million elderly, making up for over 20% of the total population. Bangladesh is hardly prepared for the challenges of an aging population. The country lacks the basic medical care and welfare systems that are needed to serve the elderly. There are private options, but the age group is not economically active, forcing their poor families into a financially challenging situation. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
As the winter approaches and temperatures go below 0 degrees, the Kashmiri people have their own traditional ways of beating the cold. Like every year, the kitchens have once again started smelling like harissa every morning, a century-old delicacy that feels like a warm hug during the harsh winters. Our correspondent Idris Lone gets you the story.
Harissa is a delicacy made of mutton and spices. It's cooked overnight in an underground earthen pot by using steam. And it is the most loved dish in the harsh Kashmiri winters. Harissa is relished for over 5 months of winters to get those extra calories needed to fight the bitter cold. Historians say that the dish arrived in Kashmir in the 14th century. And the Srinagar city has been serving it for over 200 years. Many harissa makers have been in the business for over 2 centuries and still carry it forward.
The shop is over 120 years old. My father and grandfather used to run this shop before me. Harissa is great for winters. It keeps you warm and keeps your full body warm. We use goat meat for making the harissa and not sheep. A lot of spices are used in it. We sell it for 4 months in winter. People who eat harissa never have any chest problems. We start at around 6 a.m. in the mornings and it finishes by 12. It's a great and healthy dish.
The harissa makers say that eating the dish for breakfast will keep a person warm all through the day, even if the temperature drops below 0 degrees. Harissa also prevents various diseases related to cold.
Harissa keeps your body warm during -degrees. It's very difficult and hard work to make harissa. We are keeping the tradition alive. It's the most famous breakfast meal here. And now we also have so many tourists coming to eat it. It has come from Iran and still goes on.
It's not just the old eateries, but the new contemporary cafes have also incorporated harissa on their menu. Since the demand for harissa has been increasing, the cafes are making sure to sell the dish to their customers. Some cafes like Chai Jai are serving it in a very traditional way and with Kashmiri copper utensils. The copper bowls with beautiful engraved designs and the chef pouring a hot oil tadka in front of customers is what makes it unique and a memorable moment for the customers. And a lot of tourists now specially come to these places to order and eat harissa. It even has some loyalists from outside of Kashmir.
Tourists are especially coming for harissa. It's not limited to Kashmir. People are ordering from across India. We have a lot of tourists especially demanding harissa from us. It used to be sold in traditional places, but since now it's sold in the cafes, it's becoming a more and more popular dish.
Lots of demand. अब tourists भी अब इसको अब बहुत पसंद करते हैं और demand करते हैं कि हमें harissa चाहिए.
It is the tourists that are enjoying these authentic Kashmiri dishes the most. Since the cafes have started serving them, more and more tourists have been ordering the delicacies during the winters.
We have purposely come to eat harissa at this place. We had heard about it. I'm really enjoying it. The service is great and the way it's served is lovely. I remember people used to be in line to get harissa in Kashmir. It's mostly eaten in winters and gives you a lot of energy.
Very good quality.
With the onset of winters, harissa takes over most of the staple breakfast foods eaten by the locals.
With the onset of winters, harissa becomes one of the most favorite breakfast meals in the Kashmir Valley. This century-old harissa is sold across the Kashmir region in the traditional shops and is also now exported across the world. The new contemporary cafes have also incorporated harissa in their menu so that not only locals but tourists can enjoy it as well. With video journalist Feroz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
That's all we have for you on this episode of South Asia Diary. We'll be back next week with a brand new lineup of stories. Until then, stay safe. I am Mariam Wardak and you are watching WION. World is One.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Just a few weeks ago, Cameroon's President Paul Biya marked 40 years in power. A special report on the long list of leaders who are ruling some of the nations for decades. Why is child trafficking in South Africa on the rise? And is the nation losing its battle against kidnapping? Kalden Ongu reports from the ground. A new energy supply route for West Africa and Europe is on the horizon as Nigeria and Morocco sign an agreement that inches a long-standing proposal for a gas pipeline between the two countries closer to reality. Luisa Olani's special report from Lagos. That's this week on World of Africa at these times, only on WION. World is One.